Hello, welcome back to Secure Kids and Parents. I'm Amy, I'm a parent coach. Today I want to talk to you about communication, another way to talk about it, where we explore the language around connection. So, when we use the tool that I'm going to talk to you about, it helps our children learn how to be in healthy relationships in general with anybody. In a previous video, I shared how you can share impact when your child behaves. So, when they say an insult like, "You're the worst mom," you can share how that insult feels to hear, like, "Oh, I feel mad," or "I feel sad," "I feel annoyed" to hear that. So, rather than saying, "You are saying mean words, you," it's, "This is how I'm impacted. I'm feeling mad" to hear that. "I'm feeling sad" to hear those words. "You're not making me sad. That's just how I'm feeling right now." So you can see the other video. I'll link it below if you want to learn about that. I want to be an authentic communicator. I want to be really open as much as possible and as much as is healthy with my kids. I encourage that with my clients as well. That means that sometimes when my child says, "You're the worst mom," and I don't feel sad, I'm not going to tell them that I feel sad. I'm not going to tell them that it's impacted me in a way that it hasn't. Sometimes when my child is tired, they say things unskillfully. So I know that. I don't take it personally sometimes. So there's another way to talk about the impact that those words have, even if it's not causing me or leading to me feeling a certain way. One reason that sharing impact is important is it gives our children information about how to be in relationship. So when they say something mean like, "You're the worst mom," and I say, "Oh, I'm feeling really sad to hear that," it can be really, really great instant information. Oftentimes, we're trying to control the behavior, we're trying to control the language, we're trying to control that. And sometimes that's appropriate to use a consequence or set a limit. And when I also share the impact, that's super, super helpful information. I'm just sharing how that's going for me, while also saying this is my responsibility. Just because I'm feeling this way doesn't mean necessarily that it's a problem. We're simply talking about what is happening, what is my experience, taking away some of the pressure of, if I'm annoyed, that means you're doing something wrong, because that's not always true. So when my child is pestering me with the same question over and over, and I'm feeling annoyed, and I say, "I feel annoyed right now," it's helpful for them to learn that asking questions over and over, sometimes people can get annoyed by it. So when I talk about impact on connection, that's a separate thing. There's impact on me, then there's impact on the connection. So if they say, "You are the worst mom ever," I can respond with telling them how I'm feeling, if I would like, or telling them how this impacts the connection. I really, really like this language for certain situations. So I might say, "Those words are hurting our connection," or, "I don't feel connected to you when you talk like that to me. I don't feel connected to you right now." Right? That's another way of sharing the impact in the moment, where I'm also not taking the words super personally, and I'm also being affected in our connection. So I like to follow this up with, well, before I get into that, let me give another example. So let's say that my child is asking me or telling me over and over again something that's on their mind. Maybe they're saying, "I want to play video games, I want to play video games, I want to be my screen," right? I can say, "Hey, when you ask me or tell me the same thing over and over, and I've already given an answer, it's hard to feel connected to you. It's kind of hard to be around you right now." We can say that. Now, this can cross over into using this as kind of a gross way to talk to our kids. So, something that can be a little test for you, or a little way to kind of check in and say, is this an appropriate use of this tool, would be to follow it up with a more general statement. So, Generally, when people say mean words to me, I don't feel connected to them. Does that feel true about relationships and healthy relationships? Yes. So, my child says, "You are the meanest mom ever," or "the worst mom ever." I can say, "Whoa, those words are really impacting our connection right now. I don't feel connected to you right now." Hey, or, "You've asked this question a lot of times and I've already answered it. And I'm not feeling very connected to you when you continue to say that over and over again." When people pester me about the same thing over and over again, it hurts my connection to them. That's true, right? I'm checking in. Is that true for a friendship? Is that true for a coworker? Is that true for a parent, my own parent, my sibling? Yeah, generally someone's like pestering me with the same request or question or thought or advice over and over. I'm not going to feel very connected to them. So that's a helpful relationship thing to know, right? What about if I give my child a direction like, "Go put your PJs on," and they don't listen? So let's try out and see how this works. So I say, "Hey, you didn't listen. You didn't put your PJs on when I asked. That's hurting our connection. Is you not listening? It's hurting our connection." And then I follow that up with, when people don't follow my directions, that hurts my connection to them. I've got red flags going off. I don't want to teach my child that following directions leads to good relationships, right? That's not true, and that's not healthy. I want them to know good relationships. There is mutual cooperation, there's conversation, there's expression, there's authenticity, there's also really good boundaries, there's appropriate vulnerability. Those things lead to good relationships. But I don't want them thinking that if they're going to be in a good relationship with a friend or a teacher or somebody else, that following directions leads to a good relationship. That's missing the mark, and that's a red flag to me. So I'm not going to use that language of connection when I'm giving a direction for that behavior, right? So that can kind of help you check in. Am I using this connection language in a way that's kind of gross? Let me try making it more general. Does this feel true about relationships in general? So when I teach clients about relating to children, relating to their kids, setting boundaries, communication, I'm using a framework of, I over here in this quadrant, I have feelings and needs and beliefs. I have experiences that are unique from my child's over here. It's really easy to mesh them and say, they're feeling mad, so I'm feeling mad, or their mood's interrupting my day, or you're being annoying, and so you're the problem, right? We want to separate them, and we want to say, I'm having this experience right now. This experience is my responsibility. And we also get to teach them, you're having that experience right now. Your experience is your responsibility. I'm going to have another video on how do we communicate with them so that we can understand them better, so that we can help them vocalize and communicate better, so we can connect, so we can collaborate, so we can problem solve, so they can understand why I have a limit with screen time, why I have a limit around the types of foods that they eat sometimes, right? There's communication strategies that we can talk about. Then there's the third part of our connection, and I think about it as this like arrow up here. With this third part, we're going to use specific language. We're going to set different types of boundaries. We're going to use strategies like repair. We're going to teach our children what a healthy relationship consists of. We're going to build relationship skills. Those are all the things that we consider when we talk about this one. I could think my child is just the bee's knees. I could just be crazy about them. Think that they're just doing such a great job. They're so mature, all of those things. They could think that I'm the coolest mom. They could look to me and just admire me and want to be like me someday. And we could have a difficult time connecting. We might not really know how to understand each other. We might not really know how to empathize. I want to take my clients from their current parenting situation to, which for me was some corporal punishment at times when I was losing my temper. It was trying to shape the behavior. It was learning discipline. How do I get my child to listen? How do I get my child to be a certain way? I take my clients from that to, let's cry on the couch together and talk about how hard it is to be human. Let's cry on the couch together as you tell me about your friend and something sad that happened. So that's what these videos are doing, is looking at how do we communicate, set boundaries, build awareness, nurture, strengthen, and make like authentic plans for building skill or addressing a situation using these 3 different parts. So back to talking about connection and using this language. So this can be overused. Everything I teach in these videos, they can be tools that are really helpful in some scenarios and appropriate in certain contexts, and totally inappropriate or not helpful in others. So my hope is that when you learn lots and lots of different tools and understand the purpose of them and how to use them, that when different parenting challenges come, you're ready. You're not like, okay, I just tell my child how I feel all the time, because that's not going to be very effective, right? It's super effective sometimes. I'm not going to talk to my child about how I'm feeling connected or not connected to them all the time, because it's overused. Some other examples of how you can use those words are, when you lie to me, that can hurt our connection. When you use mean words, when you turn around when I'm talking to you, I don't feel very connected to you. Or when you roll your eyes when I'm talking, I don't feel very connected. So instead of, that's disrespectful, that's problematic, it's, hey, this is impacting our connection right now. So we just explored what kind of behaviors that my child does that impacts my connection to them, right? So they're responsible for part of it. I'm responsible for another part of it. So it's really split. So what kinds of behaviors do I have or do that lead to my child feeling disconnected? So I would want to say some of those, and I would want to ask and explore with them. Hey, child, when I yell, how do you feel like that impacts our connection? And let them answer the question. Hey, when I'm doing a task and I'm not really fully listening, maybe I'm doing dishes, and I just kind of say certain words, they can tell. A lot of the times they can tell, and it feels very hard for them, right? When I'm doing a task and I'm not fully listening, how do you feel like that impacts our connection? Or when I make commitments and say I'm going to do something and I don't keep that commitment, does that hurt our connection? Yeah, that makes sense. When I look at my phone, when you're talking to me, maybe I get a text and I look down in the middle of a conversation, does that impact our connection? They are so good at talking about this kind of stuff. The better you get at using this language, the more they'll open up and the more that they'll share. Ask them, talk to them, start these conversations. So you can use this type of conversation to talk about positive things too. So here are some examples. I tickle my child and they say, stop tickling me, or I don't like that. And I can tell them, hey, thank you so much for telling me what you needed. Thank you so much for using your words to communicate and telling me what's going on. I feel so connected to you when you use that kind of like powerful communication. I really appreciate it. Maybe especially this child has struggled with like scratching and reaching out and getting aggressive. So when they tell me that they feel sad about something, maybe it's something I did, maybe it's something someone else said, I can tell them, oh, I feel so connected to you when you tell me how you're feeling and what's going on. Thank you. That's going to bring more of that behavior. When you tell them something that they did, or when they tell you something that they did and they knew they shouldn't have done it, you can tell them, it helps me so much to feel connected when you tell me the truth. Now, that doesn't always mean you don't have a consequence. You can still do that if it feels appropriate. And you're also saying, hey, this is really helping our connection right here. So communicating about how something impacts our connection can be really, really helpful. It goes really well, again, with communicating how I'm feeling and how I'm impacted. And it also goes really, really well with the strategy of, I call it intentional mirroring, where you learn and ask and communicate to understand your child's experience. So you get to understand this part over here a little bit better. I have another video on that that's linked below. So if you want to leave a comment below, that'd be so great. Please let me know if this was helpful. If it was, let me know what was most helpful in this video. And if you have any other questions, I also have my website linked below. Thank you so much for watching. So good to be with you. Have a nice day.